Some MS-13 gangbangers found out that there's a new sheriff in town, a couple of new sheriffs. They're named Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, and the bad guys did not get away at this time. Major arrests in Northern Virginia. Good morning. It's March 27th. I'm Larry O'Connor, and it's a big breaking story right here in our backyard, Northern Virginia. Grab your coffee. It's a good one, and you're going to be pleased with the happy ending. Federal authorities nabbed an MS-13 gang leader in Woodbridge, Virginia. It just happened early in the wee hours of the morning, right as the swamp was waking up. And it's one of the most violent, ruthless gangs on the planet. And this kingpin was living right in the shadow of the Washington Monument. And today we're digging into what exactly happened and what it means. This isn't just a headline. This is a wake-up call, not just for the community here in Washington, but all across the country. First, let's show you what happened with Pam Bondi and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel earlier this morning.
First reaction is all of our law enforcement officers are safe. That was the number one thing. They're safe. They executed a clean, safe operation, and the bad guys in custody. And thanks to the FBI, we got one of the worst of MS-13 off the streets this morning.
We were able to be out here in force to show the American people, to be here in person, that this means a lot to her and the mission. Safety is our primary concern of these communities, and we effectuated that today.
People on the left, apologists for the Democrats and for the Biden administration, because this is obviously a glaring indictment of their lack of ability to do this sort of thing, or lack of will to do this sort of thing. They're already sort of, criticizing Bondi and Patel for being out there and, wearing their baseball caps and what this is just cosplaying. This is just PR. Yeah, it's PR. It's good PR. It tells the bad guys we're coming after you. Imagery is important in American politics. Imagery and demonstrating something visually is important when it comes to law and order. Nothing tells the bad guy that maybe they should stop being a bad guy than seeing one of their own perp walked and arrested and manhandled and, sent to an El Salvadoran prison. So the FBI, along with state and local law enforcement in Virginia, swooped in, arrested a 24-year-old illegal immigrant from El Salvador. This is identified as one of the top 3 leaders of MS-13. Now, if you're not familiar with MS-13 because you watch MSNBC and you heard Joy Reid, I remember this a couple of years ago, saying, I don't even know what MS-13 is. This is a made-up threat. No, it's a very real threat. These aren't your garden variety street toughs, like from West Side Story. This is a transnational criminal organization. They're designated a terrorist group, by the way, by the Trump administration. They're known for hacking people up with machetes. They traffic drugs. They turn neighborhoods into war zones. Most of those neighborhoods, by the way, populated by innocent Latin American legal immigrants. They're the victims here. Now, this guy was not just a foot soldier. He was calling the shots. He was one of the big fish, as they say, and he was caught right here in Woodbridge, Virginia. It's a stone's throw from the nation's capital. Pam Bondi spoke at the press conference just about an hour ago. Let's take a look at that. This is in Manassas, Virginia, where they assembled.
So first, many had been identified. They've been living here. Many had been identified. Living here, they were let freely into our country. All of these illegal aliens. I had gone to that border in September. Nothing humane was happening at that border. Passports stacked everywhere from every country you can imagine. People freely walking across our borders, fighting age men coming into our country. And this is the result of Joe Biden's open border policy. What our country has been plagued with. But from the second Donald Trump took office, he said he is going to make America safe. He shut down our borders. And now it's our job to get these people out of our country as fast as we can. And this coordinated group effort, this task force that has been put together, is making a difference here, and it will make a difference around the country. That's why you're seeing so many arrests so fast, because we will not have another Lake and Riley. We are going to catch them, we are going to apprehend them, and they are not going to like where they are going.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when an administration actually prioritizes this sort of thing, law enforcement. We had a Biden administration whose Attorney General Merrick Garland was going after parents who spoke out angrily at a school board meeting, or Catholics who dared to speak in Latin when they attended Mass. Now we're actually going after, international terrorist criminal gang members. And Attorney General Bondi is right to not just focus on this as a success for the new Trump administration, but to focus on the failures of the Biden administration. This is a glaring neon flashing sign of what a lot of us have been saying for years now. Our border security, a mess, a disaster, letting monsters like this waltz right in. This guy's from El Salvador illegally and somehow wasn't just surviving. He was thriving and living the high life as a gang lord in the peaceful suburbs of Washington, D.C. How does that happen? How does a 24-year-old punk rise to the top of a terrorist gang and set up shop 30 minutes from the White House without anyone noticing until today? Because we had soft on crime policies, or we had a focus on, criminal behavior like you expressing your opinion about the COVID masks and social distancing on social media. That was the priority of the last administration. We had porous borders and we had everybody looking the other way. In fact, worse than looking the other way, you had Alejandro Mayorkas telling you that the border was secure. Let's go to Kash Patel here, the FBI director. Remind you that this is a man that Democrats didn't want to be in this position because they thought he wasn't experienced to be the FBI director.
This is what happens when you let good cops be cops. And we're going to continue to let good cops be cops across this country. President Trump gave us the executive decision to go after and safeguard our communities. General Bondi is our warrior of justice leading that charge. Governor Youngkin, it's an honor to be a partner in this operation with you and U.S. Attorney Siebert. This is a mandate we have. Right now, we have an American dying every 7 minutes from a drug overdose. That is a national security crisis we have not seen ever before. We have a woman or child being raped every 6.5 minutes in this country. We have a homicide twice an hour. No part of that metric is a safe and secure America. But thanks to the brave leadership of this administration and the folks that you see here, we are returning our communities to safety. As you heard, we took down this morning a top leader of MS-13. That is not done easily. That is done with brilliant law enforcement.
So it's important to remind you again that not only under Joe Biden did the Democrats allow this to just continue to fester without any major action against these thugs, terrorists, gang leaders, but that man, the nominee for FBI director, who along with the attorney general actually engineered this focus and primary prioritization of going after these people, Democrats didn't want him to have this job. They didn't want this kind of effective leadership at the FBI. They were perfectly happy with how it was politicized and turned into an espionage operation, usually used against conservatives here in America. You heard Kash Patel mention the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. He was there, and he had this to say.
Foremost, this task force was designed in the White House with this team around the table. What do we need to do in order to go after the gangs, the cartels, and of course the drugs in a community like Northern Virginia, like Fairfax County, that has seen county leadership not pursue the necessary steps in order to fight this crime? And this task force was architected in a very quick period of time and stood up immediately. And in fact, when Director Patel was confirmed, within a day, he authorized this facility and these capabilities. General Bondi immediately came to lead it, and we found ourselves with truly one-of-a-kind resources going to work. And I just want to emphasize the pace and the focus. And so, no, these were not lists that were available in the previous administration because they wouldn't do that. And the minute that we had partners that would do this with us, then lists of 500, 600, 700 targets could be put together in collaboration with state police and federal authorities and our Department of Corrections. Critically important, and I cannot emphasize enough the collaboration and support and leadership out of the new administration that is so different than what we saw in at least the previous 3 years of my administration. Finally, with regards to counties that are demonstrating resistance to cooperate with federal authorities and particularly with ICE.
Yeah, he goes on to say that the whole idea of these sanctuary counties like Fairfax County in Virginia and Arlington, Alexandria, you've got a district attorney or a Commonwealth attorney, they call them in Virginia, in Steve Descano in Fairfax, who is acting like he's a Soros-funded prosecutor, which means he doesn't prosecute. He just lets the bad guys walk. Youngkin says, enough of this. It's time to cooperate with these guys. They're the good guys, and the criminals that you're letting walk the streets, they're the bad guys. So good for Youngkin being a part of this. Let's summarize this for you. MS-13, they don't mess around. Back in 2019, right here in Northern Virginia, MS-13 cliques were on a killing spree, 4 murders in Prince William County. That's the county where this guy was arrested in Woodbridge. Random people, not rival gangbangers. No, they were hacked up and left in the woods to send a message. That's how these people operate. Prosecutors called the DC metro area an MS-13 hunting ground. And it's not an ancient history or anything. I'm talking 5 years ago. This gang's got roots in El Salvador, tentacles in Mexico, Honduras, across the United States. It's well documented. It's a real threat. And they've been a thorn in the side of law enforcement and peaceful neighborhoods since they popped up in Los Angeles a couple of decades ago. Drugs, extortion, sex trafficking, you name it, they're in on it and they control it. And now one of the top dogs just chilling out in Woodbridge, enjoying the high life, sipping a latte while he was plotting his next move. He's now perp walking thanks to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney General. So the takeaway, thank God for the men and women in law enforcement. Always. They put this guy in cuffs and they put their lives on the line in apprehending him. But we need to keep the pressure on. The Trump administration doubling down on deportations. Good. Earlier this month, you saw they cut the deal with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele to ship another MS-13 bigwig, Cesar Lopez Larios, back home where he belongs. You also saw that plane load of Venezuelan gang members that went there. Remember, Democrats and the judges appointed by Democrats don't want that to happen. They're trying to stop the apprehension and deportation of bad guys who are already in this country illegally and should have never been here in the first place. I know people in Northern Virginia. I've got friends there. Good people. They're raising their kids. They're going to church. They're trying to live the American dream. They don't deserve to look over their shoulder every time they go to the grocery store to see if a gangbanger has slipped through the cracks and about to slit their throats. And you don't deserve that in the neighborhood you live in. This arrest is a win, but it's also a reminder. We're still fighting a war on our own soil. And the enemy was not only allowed to be here, but in some cases, they were welcomed and flown to this country by the last administration. All right, that's it for today's daily wrap. Wait, what are we calling this? That's it for today's daily briefing, the top news story that's happening right now, right here. We'll see you tomorrow. My name's Larry O'Connor. If you'd like, you can subscribe to the Substack. You can get my daily newsletter. You can get these daily briefings delivered right to your inbox. Subscribe to the Substack or subscribe here on YouTube as well. Thanks for watching.